That's better. Hey. Welcome to the Lavonda Ray, the Here and Now Show. I am your host, Lavonda Ray. Thank you. And if you tuned into my show before, you know that I'm coming from the Midwest where we come in and show out. Gotta love your city. Hello, somebody. And if you tuned into the Here and Now show before, you know that this is a show where I created a space where I have took real life events and turned them into a positive living. And if you have any questions or you have any comments, feel free to leave it in the box because I believe that all voices matter and your opinions matter. Essentially, your opinion could help someone change the way they see things. So, with that being said, thank you. Let's start the show. And if you have been rocking with me since January, thank you very much. Yes, I'm proud of myself. Yes, thank you. Then you know that I am a stickler for jazz music. So, for me, jazz music kind of sets the room, the atmosphere. And so, with that being said, we're going to play a little jazz before we get into No Topic Thursday, not Tuesday. Ahead of myself. Let's take a moment. Welcome back, everyone, my beautiful souls. It's your girl. Oh my God, I'm trying to get this microphone together. So, you guys, just about 4 minutes ago, I was streaming, and then I realized there was no sound, so I had to restart. I'm streaming from the library. Hello, somebody. Won't he do it? But yeah, I am streaming from the library. The weather right now in the Midwest looks like it's gonna storm again. Last Tuesday I was on the air and it was gonna be a tornado watch. So I'm convinced that we are looking at a storm. So I won't keep you guys too long so I can go home, get away from the storm. So thank you guys for tuning to me with me right here, right now. But let me first off say this. Now, this space right here, it's real, it's honest, and sometimes it can get a little deep. But today, we just vibing because today is No Topic Thursday. So, hey, No Topic Thursday. That means we're not stuck in anything serious today. We're not overthinking life. We're just laughing, maybe sip on a little something, and being a human being. Now, y'all already know that most of my topics, you already know they're serious and they're real. You know, I talk about growth, healing, purpose, and all of that. And that whole getting your life together and the purpose of you having good life and getting everything in alignment type of energy. But don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. That's me all day. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still becoming better and better every day. So today, we just sometimes through all this, you just gotta laugh. Sometimes you just gotta set back a little bit, grab you a little wine, a little cold water, and just say, you know what? Life is funny. So today I'm talking about you. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about what kind of person are you, right? So before we get into that, let's just do a little bit of jazz, go get you something to drink, a nice one. If you need something stronger than that, bottle of water, you gotta run to the bathroom, text, tell them to tune in. If you're driving, keep your hand on the steering wheel, because here we go. So a little jazz for the moment. And you guys, I am losing my voice, but it is okay, right? So let's vibe, let's hear a little jazz and then let's get into it, because I am ready. And if you guys are ready, you go ahead and make that run to the bathroom or get you something to drink and let's let the jazz go. Welcome back. Welcome back. So, if you were tuning in or you just tuned in, you know that today's vibe topic, no topic Thursday. I'm just talking. I'm just, you know, saying some fun stuff for me, for you guys. So, the question was, what kind of person are you? Hello. Are you slow to anger but quick to speak? Are you the type that where somebody looks at you wrong and you be like, okay, why are they breathing like that? Like, are you the kind that mm, I don't fight, I just I just don't talk. I don't know how to fight, but I just talk a lot. And I don't necessarily mean fight with your hand. When I say they say they don't, are you the type of person that says, you do a lot of talking, right? A lot of talking, but you just, you talk a lot of mess, but you can't really back it up. And when I say throw hands, baby, sometimes you can throw them words and they feel better. They feel harder than a left hook. So today I'm talking about life. I'm talking about kids. I'm talking about exes. Yes, I'm going there. And those moments that had you mad, but then you look back now and then you can laugh about it, right? That's the type of time I'm on. So get comfortable. Like I said, grab your drink, a snack, or just get your piece. And for a few seconds, we're gonna just gonna well, not a few seconds. We're just gonna have a little fun for the next. I don't know. Till I get tired of talking. Hello, somebody. So, all right. Let me start with this question again. Um, I kind of tattered off that, but we're gonna tether back to it. I said, "What kind of person are you really?" Like what kind of person are you really? Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people, they respond by saying, "Oh, I'm chilling. I'm easygoing." But are you really? For me, I am chilled until someone gives me a reason not to be. Now, I'm not saying that I go around punching on people because I don't like to fight. I don't punch on people because I don't want to get punched on. And I'm not good with physical fighting, and I don't think that nobody really physically want to fight. So to try to not be a fighter all times, you got to find another mechanism. But I don't like physical fighting. And then I was the same question that I was asked. To me, it was, are you slow to anger, or do you go from don't play with me to 2.5 seconds? 1 minute, it's like, hey, I can go from 0 to 2.5 and don't play with me. That's the time I used to be on before my journey. hmm People would be, tiptoeing around me, and it got a little tiptoe around conversation. Now, let me be clear because, I was always so, had such an angry spirit that, I could ask one of my friends or one of my family members, how does this outfit look? Or even the hairstyle. And even if it was ugly as hell, you know, um, a lot of people, they didn't tell me. They wouldn't answer that. They wouldn't say anything. They would rather just say, well, yeah, it looks great. In reality, they're like, she look like a hot ass mess. But I don't got time to be arguing with her about how she looks. So that wasn't no fun though, because then at this point it was hard for me to actually bond anything with people because they were always like, well, I feel a certain way about you, and I'm afraid that you're going to say this if I say that. So it's like they always had to put on their brakes, and I didn't want that. But during my journey of healing, yes, there was all types of thing. And then, because I know there are some people out there that like, I don't like drama, but damn, drama always finds them. And it's crazy. You be like, why is this drama finding me? And they argue, and I am being hella distracted right now. But I'm gonna keep going. I don't know if you guys can hear my phone, but one of my daughters, are just blowing me up as if she doesn't know I'm on the internet, and it's okay. Nobody's perfect out here, but it is distracting me. So I'm just going to set this phone over here because even with it being on mute, I'm not perfect. No topic Tuesday, no topic Thursday. I'm just talking. I'm just going, and so yeah, bear with me. Okay, so as I was saying, that was never no fun. People had to tiptoe around my conversation, and then, like I said, there are some people that, they don't like to argue, but they'll talk about something like they a damn documentary narrator that tell you everything you need to hear, but they don't want to argue with you. But they just told you about yourself and you didn't even realize it. But oh, you'd be like, oh, that's what very interesting behavior. Now myself, I like to think I'm a little grown, and I had to grow into the woman that I am today. But hello, I did. Hello, because back in my days where I was trying, in that era where I was trying to find who I was, man, listen, it was like you couldn't say anything to me without me being offended, and ready to just go off and not even, have the room to listen or see what else someone else's opinion is. Do you know how hard it is to accept when you know that, hey, maybe I could have handled that better, but then your pride is like, I'm not going to say anything. That was me, you know. Pride to get you, misplaced. My pride was not that great. I was always like, this might have, during my journey, I don't know if you guys could relate, but I would be like, I want to say sorry or I want things to go this way, but mm-mm, my pride ain't gonna let me do that. So during my growth and development, my pride as I grew got a little bit. I was able to, set my pride aside to apologize because sometimes that pride you're gonna have to apologize, for some things because your pride could get you in trouble, But but now, with me, and if I'm angry about something or if I feel like I'm having, some competitions, now I've invited myself into an argument. Well, see, now I take things different from the old me, would be mad all day. But the new me, I might still say something after I kind of breathe and calm down. I still might say something, but it'll be polished a little more. Instead of me saying, I don't know, you're a punk ass, I would say something like, I don't like how you treated me, and I think how you made me feel was some weak shit. Instead of saying, you're a punk ass. I polished it up. I'm not perfect, no topic Thursday. So, this week is so crazy. I was explaining that I was gonna do, no topic Thursday, and I had received some funny questions. And, I love the questions. I like to answer them. So here are a few questions. And if you feel like you want to answer them, feel free to answer them. And we can laugh at the response together. The first question was, have you ever argued with someone in your head? Oh, shit. Absolutely. Oh my God, I am so undefeated in my head. I mean, I done had a full conversation, the voice tone and the attitude, and walked away like I really won that argument in my head with the other person when I know I was wrong. It's two left shoes. Story. I was dating this guy some years back, and this is crazy. It goes to the question: have you ever argued with someone in your head? So it goes to this. And, we were dating or whatever. We were supposed to go on this vacation, um, which wasn't like out of the country, but still, it was going to be a vacation, and all I had to do was confirm the appointment. I mean, to confirm the flight. And so, well, what actually ended up happening is I don't know if I got preoccupied. I did everything I was supposed to do, but confirm it. I didn't push that confirm button, right? And so we go. Well, we drive to the airport, however, and well, basically, he finds out essentially, they don't have any records of anything that you did, and I'm sitting there and I'm arguing, knowing that one, I should have took accountability and just said, hey, I forgot to push confirm, I did everything else, I forgot to confirm it, but instead, I, made excuses that, maybe the man messed up or they didn't get the information. And then we had a little argument for about 5 minutes. And then, after, we did go on our vacation. But the point was that I had a whole argument in my head of how things should have went and the way I wanted them to go. But Actually, in my journey, I had to learn to take accountability. So yes, I have definitely had arguments in my head and won them. Tell the whole story. So yeah, I'm not perfect. Another question is, have you ever said I'm done and then went back? Oh, well, I'm gonna say this: we don't never judge on this show. Okay, I don't, I don't judge. Growth to me to answer that question, growth is process. That's it. We're processing growth. So if someone journeys back into a relationship that wasn't the best thing for them, let them be. They're growing. You can you can hope that they wouldn't go back because maybe going back essentially was not a good idea. But then again, going back essentially might have made them stronger. So we do not judge ever on my show. So answering that question, I would just say growth is process. Second question. Have you ever looked back at your ex and thought, what was I thinking? Well, that definitely, for me, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. That was just me learning experience with a new wig on. That wasn't me. I don't know who that girl was. Yeah, it was me. But, um, I'm sure that we all probably have had relationships where we look back and be like, I'm so glad that I got through that. But, when you can look back and be like, no, that was funny. That was a learning experience that taught me to process my feelings better. It taught me to respect myself better. And by all means, I'm not perfect. So, again, I have dated people where I was like, oh my, all the flags was there. They were on the ground. And actually, the guy probably he didn't have any red flag. He was the whole parade. Do you hear me? Um, so yeah, I have. I've looked back, but and thought, this ex was just exactly where he needs to be. My ex. Now let's talk about kids, because I tell you what, baby, them kids will humble you real quick. You could be having a whole moment trying to be deep, trying to be serious, and here comes your child like, "Mom, where's my charger?" And then they look at you, and me, I hear them, but I'm not listening. You ever did that as a parent? You hear them, you hear the words, but you're not hearing the sentence. So I'm like, oh my God, I don't know where you put your charger, but really, like, well, you see my charger. And then, I'm listening, like I said, I'm not listening. And then they go, I'm hungry again. And I'm like, you just ate. You just ate not even 5 seconds ago. And that's why do kids always be hungry? They're always so hungry. I have two wonderful, amazing grandsons, right? And they could clear their whole plate and even go back for seconds. But when Granny, when Granny's plates on there, oh, something about Granny's plates. You ever notice that being grandparents? Something about our food, even though it's the same thing. Oh, our water is much fresher, our juice is more colder, or whatever we eat. It just tastes better coming off Granny's plate. Hello, somebody. I love it. I love it. I do. So, you ever? And let's be honest, kids, oh my gosh, little kids, they will say the most embarrassing things at the worst time. Like you be at the store, going through the aisle, looking in public, looking cute, acting like you got it all halfway together, at least looking like it. And then your child comes like, Mom, real loud in the store, like, you remember when you fell in the kitchen? And you'd be like, why are we discussing this right now? And you're just like, why are we bringing this up right now? You know? And then there's people in the store looking at you like, oh my God, is she just falling out on the floor? I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing? What are we doing right now? And I'm like, but I love it. I love being a mother. I love being a grandmother. And now that I'm a grandmother, I get to laugh even more now. I get to see my grandkids make me laugh from my kids and, from them being their kids and them once being kids, you know. Now, you know, I know that I I'm very grateful to be a grandmother and a mother. Life and change comes every day. And, growing up with my children, um, growing up through just general in life and, dating relationships, dating people that, clearly show me red flags or, I didn't see the flags. I just, we don't see a lot of things when we're in the moment. But, I learned. And that's the thing about life is that none of us is perfect. And none of us, we learn, we grow, and we laugh because sometimes situations that we grew from, you could just look back and be like, I used to be that way, and I could laugh at that. Like I used to be that girl, but I'm not her no more. I can look back and be like, I've came so far. Growth is a process. Even with like I said, old relationships, you look back and be like, gosh, all the little stupid arguments that we had, that too was a red flag. The arguments that were stupid or dumb, like, why didn't you answer the text message? Oh, well, because I was asleep. Well, you was asleep at 10 o'clock in the nighttime, and it's like, now this ain't healthy. Yeah, the fuck I was asleep. It's 10 o'clock. I have a job. I have stuff to do. And, if I don't text you right back, for the future, if someone gets offended because you're not texting them right back, you might want to pay attention. Well, for me, it was like, get the fuck on. That's how it was for me. So at that moment, I can look back and be like, God, I did a lot of growth. And I'm like, girl, you should. I'm glad you stayed asleep. Looking back, because if I'm asleep at 10 o'clock, don't keep texting me 1,000 times. And if you don't believe me, then that's another issue that is obviously going to grow into something worse if we don't figure out why you're so clingy. There's a difference between being clingy and being in love. I mean, some people like clingy. I don't like clingy. Clingy scares me. Like, let me breathe. We can love each other all day, but I got to breathe. But it's moments like that I love, that I can look back and reflect, because life isn't always about being serious all the time, right? Yes, we grow. Yes, we involve ourselves. We involving, but we also got to laugh. We laugh at how you used to be. Laugh at our old mistakes. Laugh at the chaos that didn't break us. Hello, somebody, because at the end of the day, you're still here. You're still here, and sometimes the best therapy is a good, hard, loud laugh, you know, and a good story, maybe. And maybe sip something smooth, because one day, the very thing that stressed you out, that thing that had you confused, even the people that got on your nerves, you're gonna look back and laugh at all that, like, you know. So, you know, I know that today probably was a very, you know, just a topic. I didn't have anything particularly wrote out. I have my notes, but I didn't have anything that I particularly was talking about. I just wanted to kind of let you guys see a side of me that I like to have fun too. I'm serious, but I'm also a laugher. I've also came a long way, you know, and through this journey, I hope that other people can relate, and we can, always come here at, on Tuesdays and Thursday and sit around and communicate and grow together, and remember that growth will humble you. Yes, it will. And it's amazing. But that growth in you, it will humble you to certain things, and before I leave, before I get off the show today, ask yourself, what kind of person am I becoming? Am I holding on to anger, or I'm learning to let things go? And when was the last time you've had a good laugh? You know, tell yourself, keep growing, keep loving, keep being real with yourself, because you can't lose with that. And I don't know, like I said, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist or therapist of any kind. But I am someone that's, I've had my share of ups and my share of downs. And in my journey of being successful, my journey of growth, my journey of involving even more with myself, my faith has not ever wavered. And so I want the same for you. I want you to be able to feel like, I could come to this space and I feel free. So today was not particularly a topic. If I put you to sleep, I apologize. I'm just glad that you guys do give me a chance to show another part of me, the fun side. Yay. So, with that being said, I'm going to leave here. But if you would like to stay connected with me, please, Marshall's Books and More. Check my webpage out. It's on the Marshall's Books and More, 1L. And it's wonderful prices. It's a brand that I came up with. Thank you. I think the prices are very reasonable. Shipping and handling, we have it. I have it. So I would love it if you guys, just go click on it, like it, share it. Same as this video. If you find it to be funny or just something you just want to listen to on your way home, I enjoy that too. So as my motto goes, take a leap of faith. Dreams do come true. Believe in yourself. You are you are going to be all right. So with it being Thursday, I don't know. I guess Thursday night and go out and pop a little bit, have a little fun. But I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna drive. I'm gonna cook me something to eat. I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna do it. So thank you guys for tuning in to the Here and Now show. Have a wonderful evening.